85% of people have reported that they feel they have very low self-esteem. Yeah, that is literally a statistic from some reputable journal website out there. I don't have the source, but you can Google it for yourself. And even if you're like, wow, that number is really high, I mean, think about it. Over the last few years alone, think about how much change has occurred in even your life, whether it's growth in your business or maybe your business has not seen the kind of growth that you want to see. And you look at that and you're thinking to yourself, is this for me? Is it something to do with me? Is it because of my skills? Is it because I'm not reaching my ideal clients? Maybe you're a leader in a company and maybe now you work for a different company and you're asking yourself, I've been working up to this point for years and years and years, but I'm not where I want to be. And it causes you to doubt yourself. It causes you to feel less than you really are. And it creates this self-narrative and all these things that we can bundle up into what we call self-esteem. And we're going to be talking to like the expert on self-esteem today. Her name is Clarissa Burt, and she has a lot of history in the world of media, and we're going to formally introduce her here, but she just wrote the book called The Self-Esteem Regime. And we don't see a lot of books about self-esteem, so I'm pumped to talk to her about her motivations behind this book, how you can incorporate the practices into your own life, as well as how to get more people out of that 85% of people and drastically lower that percentage. Now, when you take something away from the broadcast, we don't run ads, we don't have sponsors, you know the fee for the show, and it's not money. The only fee is to share this show with just one person who could use it the most. Only if you take something away from this conversation with Clarissa. So without further ado, let's talk to Clarissa Burt.
Yay!
And for those who don't know her, she
audience. Yay!
She has incredible energy, as you can see, and we had a great conversation before this too. But let me tell the world who you are, Clarissa.
Too funny.
All right, just a very small snippet of who you are.
Tell the world who you are first, because you, Brandon, had me awake at 4:00 this morning to be on this. Anyway, long story. I live in Arizona. We're 3 hours behind you. We thought it was a different. Anyway, glad to be here. Lovely to meet you, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to write the Self-Esteem Regime for a really long time, and I've been wanting to write it for a really long time because I've seen along the way, my very long path, how many people that I encountered starting in my childhood that were not living in their best light. And it was really kind of embarrassing in some moments, but it was enlightening in so many others. My mother, for example, didn't want to have her picture taken. Oh, don't take my, I came out horrible in pictures, horrible. Well, my father loved wielding his Polaroid back in the day, the one that and, I mean, it was really kind of one of those things that I look at my mother and go, my God, she's such a beautiful woman. Well, I wonder what that's all about. My grandmother, some years later, lovely woman, beautiful woman, slim, decides she needs to lose weight, takes 2 diet pills, chokes on them, perforates her esophagus, and winds up in the hospital for 6 weeks. Wow. And I thought to myself, as a young girl, I must have been 12. Geez, that's really unfortunate that Grandma thought she would, that she needed to lose weight, because she doesn't. Then I had the really good fortune to be known as one of the top supermodels in the world back in the 80s in Europe. And I'm on magazine covers and I've got my own beauty campaigns, and I'm working with some of the most beautiful women on the planet. And I noticed that even these gals were, in some ways, were not living their, in happy, healthy self-esteem. Either they were drugging, or they were in toxic relationships, or they had body dysmorphia. Not all of them, by the way, let me, preface by saying, but I noticed that I'm looking at these girls going, my Lord, these, women would love to look like you. Why are you bashing yourself? And I could be here all day about the examples that I saw around me. So I figured, this has got to be. Then I realized that it wasn't just women, that it was also, and that guys were having some issues. So I went, you know what? This is a human thing. This is not just. So, it is. I think it's part of the human condition. I think that, with Self-Esteem 101, never compare yourself to anyone else, is probably one of the most difficult ones. We start that as young children, and we start to see the differences, in between ourselves and our peers. And certainly what we are taught in the natal home is of the utmost importance. So if you came from like really great parents, you might have had really good messaging. If you, came from a foster system, and were put through the foster system, what was your self-esteem like when you got out? So we could be here all day on the different case scenarios, but the importance of living in happy, healthy self-esteem is everything you are. It's everything you think. It's how you project yourself to the world. It's how you think about yourself, and it's the relationship you will have with others, for sure. So if your self-esteem isn't in check by the time your feet hit the ground in the morning, you're probably, there's something along the day is going to go sideways,
Yeah.
guaranteed. In a bigger
How does someone even gauge whether they are low self-esteem? Like what do they look for?
That's a great question, and I love it. It's one of those kind of things where you go, the daily demons are popping in a little bit longer, a little bit more than I think they should. So I have these, what I call my daily demons. They come in all the time, and they'll sit there and they'll do the negative self-talk, and you go, well, gee, I don't know, I thought, and you try to do your best to brush them away, and boom, here they come the next day, and they've got something to say. Life is only going to give you what you put up with, right? So if you're putting up with being somebody else's doormat or living in guilt and shame, are you living in guilt for something? Do you feel guilty about something? Excuse me. Are you living in shame? Do you feel shameful about something? These are pretty good indicators. Are you waking up with doom and gloom? Now that could be a sign of depression, but I'm going to go down the path and say there's a direct correlation between self-esteem and how you feel about yourself. And if you're not feeling too good about yourself and life is kind of sucky, you're probably depressed. So, again, the inner critic, being really careful of that. These are some of the ideas, that we need to be looking out for on a daily basis. Self-esteem is something that as you're living your day, and those daily demons do come along, boom, what? Hold on. What'd you just say? No. And you sort of back up. You say, no, I didn't mean to have that thought. That's not what I meant to say to myself. Because let me tell you, your subconscious believes everything you tell it. It believes everything you tell it. And therefore, life plays out in lieu of what you're telling it. What are you telling it? What are you filling it with? So this is why the book, and I'll show it to you real quick. Here you go. The Self-Esteem Regime. It is an action plan for becoming the confident person you were meant to be. Not quite sure what you see, but
yeah,
it's broken down into 12 chapters. Each chapter starts with a word, and we start with release. What do you need to get rid of? What were you taught that's not serving you? What are your core beliefs? Which ones are working for you? Which ones aren't? What is it you wake up with every day and go, well, that's what mom said. Well, my dad taught me so many years ago. Okay, love them where they're at. Thank you for that. I'll be home for Thanksgiving dinner, see you at Christmas, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everything you were taught in the natal home is something you need to take with you as you move forward in life.
Yeah.
And some of these things, Brandon, they're going to get some people might get their nose out of joint. Others are probably going to be offended. Others might, kind of like not understand, or they could be downright angry at some of the choices you will make along the way, because it doesn't fit into their narrative, or it doesn't fit into, well, I taught you should be in church every Sunday. Well, if that doesn't work for you, and I'm not, you do your faith. If that's what works for you, I'm not here for that. I'm here to tell you that, if you miss church on a Sunday, I don't think God's going to kick you out.
Yeah.
Just, so what are the beliefs? If it's, oh my God, if you don't show up every Sunday to church, you're damned. Well, I don't think you are. But, anyway, I digress. You understand the point. And that is, we must be very careful about where we've gotten our information from. So I've spoken about the natal tribe. Then we talk about our schooling, right? What did we learn there? Then we learn about our peers. What did we learn there? What did they teach us along the way? Then we have our faith. A lot of us do have priests or pastors or whatever else, divine, Krishna, Buddha, source, universe. What is it that you are paying attention to?
Yeah. And it's what you were taught, I believe, as well as what you weren't taught, because like what you just said with the demons that come into play, right? Like even Heidi just mentioned in the comments that she starts a prayer where she says, Lord, please protect me from my own
Yes.
thoughts. They are not real. But in school, we're never taught, grades 1 through 12 or even college, that your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are something that you can either accept or allow them to continue to pass by, so that you can actually accept the ones that you want to feed your
Absolutely.
subconscious with.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point. The way you start your day is the way your day is going to flow. I have on my refrigerator, I've got, some affirmations. I've got some really great, thoughts there that I wake up, in order to manifest. Manifest has become a really, I don't know if anybody follows TikTok, but all of a sudden the last month, everybody's talking about manifesting. Yeah. And manifesting's been around since Adam and Eve. So, welcome to the club, welcome to the show. And I say that, as I jest, but, and again, what is manifesting? It's really thoughtful prayer as to what it is that you want to be thinking. What are you implanting in your thought process, so that it plays out during your day, your week, your month, your year, your life. So it's really, I'm glad to hear I think it was Heidi was her name.
Yeah, Heidi.
Say that, because, this is exactly where we all need to be. We all need to be in that kind of mindful place of, who are we? Where are we? Who do we want to be? And I always say, Brandon, that I strive to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. And what is the one? It might be one little teeny thing. People think that, another thing that I talk about self-esteem is the greater good. So volunteering, tithing, paying it forward, paying it back, whatever works for you is fine. And some people think it has to be this big, broad stroke, needs so much time. You don't need a whole lot of time if that's not what you have. What you need is a kind heart. So when was the last time that, and I pull from the manners that I was taught many years ago. I'm a lot older than you are. And I was taught, if a pregnant lady got on the bus, you stood up for her. If the elderly got on the train, you stood up and gave them your seat. Let's hold the elevator door open for someone. Now, some people think, oh, that's easy, Clarissa. I don't know if that's the way the world rolls these days. I'm going to guess it probably doesn't. Help the lady down the stairs with her baby carriage. Check in on your older neighbors. Or sometimes it's just a good morning.
Yeah.
As you're walking down there, it's not a big deal to be nice and kind and put it out there. Good morning. Gee, really love that top on you. You're looking super today. It's stupid ass stuff, but it's stuff that really, it really makes a difference. And I'll tell you where it makes a difference. It makes a difference in the person that you've said it to. It makes a difference in the person that you smiled at. And when you know that you've done that, boy, does that make you feel good. You have a lilt in your step after you've done something good for someone else. Again, self-esteem 101, but how many of us are forgetting it?
Well, it's funny because the root of the word is self-esteem, yet the way that you build it is by lifting other people up. It's almost like others' esteem, in a sense, raises your own esteem,
Well, and I'm going to take it one step further, Brandon. I love when you say that. You call it self-esteem. So where is that esteem coming from if it's self-esteem? Many times the esteem is coming from what everybody else thinks about you. So what part of self-esteem is that?
Wow.
You need, right? Think about it. It's yourself. It's what you are learning, what you are teaching yourself, what you are unlearning, and what you feed yourself with on a daily basis. I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. So what is it that I'm going to be able to do? Again, small brushstroke, doesn't have to be anything. It could be huge, but it could be something really small. Here's another thing that I really like to leave leave everybody with in every interview that I do, and that is, I am enough. You are enough. We are enough. Everybody's enough. Enough means as much as is required. As much as is required. Go look it up. Well, Brandon, I don't know about you or your listeners, but I know for a fact that I am so much more than is required. I am so much more than enough. So be careful about the wording that we're using. Even when we think we're saying the right thing, is it really what we mean to say? What we mean to say is, I am so much more than enough, and I am for myself, and I really hope that I am in your life too. Whatever works for you. I'm creating affirmations as I go, and believe me, there are plenty in the book. But you asked me a question before, and that is, again, how do we know if we're living, in unhappy self-esteem? Well, how's your life working out? How's it feeling? Do you feel like failure? Are you apologizing all the time? Do you reject compliments? That looks really nice on you. Oh, this old thing, look better. I've gained so much weight, all that stuff that would
Yeah.
just say,
We hear that all the time.
right, just say thanks. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've had this one a while. I've had it a while, but yeah, I like it. It's nice. It's got whatever. But if you're going to be on, oh, don't reject. When you reject a compliment, not only are you insulting yourself, but you're insulting the person that it complimented you. Think about it. It's very subtle, and you don't mean to do it, and you're not mean when you do it. But when you belittle yourself, you've just belittled the compliment, therefore the person that gave you the compliment.
Yes.
Well, hell no, that's not what I meant to do. And that's not what we should be doing. To never hesitate to step up for yourself. You know what I mean? You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be respected. You deserve to live in a peaceful home. That's big.
I had a friend of mine who is very enlightened in the way that he thinks, and he said something very similar to what you said. I am enough, right? But a lot of people, including myself, especially back in the day, and sometimes still now, we're achievers, right? Everyone listening, entrepreneurs, business owners, you want to achieve, you want to create, you want to help and serve people. But we say things such as, I'll be enough when I achieve this specific goal. But then you achieve the goal, you feel good in the moment, and then you create another goal. So you're only feeling good 1% of the time, while the other 99%, you're striving for something.
Well, I would like to say this about goals: set them and never forget them, because they are important and they are goalposts as we move through life, right? You want to keep moving the goalpost, right? You want to keep moving it, because that's where you challenge yourself. That's where the learning comes in. So whereas you talk about the 1%, you're absolutely right, but that 99% is where you're really challenging yourself. You're really challenging the belief you have in yourself. You're really challenging that self-esteem. I'm telling you, some of the hardest times in my life, and I would venture to guess many people's lives, is when you felt for that moment you never could. It's not going to happen, because it's so easy to fall down the I just could never path. That whole, I just couldn't. I mean, there's no way. I don't have the money. I don't have the smarts. I'm too old. And you're going to create every excuse in the book to make sure it doesn't happen. That 99% of the time is where you put on your big girl britches, big boy britches, whatever, and you decide that it is going to happen and that you will find a way. That's where self-worth comes in. That's where self-awareness comes in. That's where self-confidence comes in.
Yeah.
That's when that 99% is where you really need to be 100% the person that you know you are, without all the excuses.
For the person listening who says, intellectually, I understand that I'm enough,
Yeah, I know.
but emotionally, I still feel like I'm not enough.
Okay, here's the deal on that. Ready? You called me an expert. I better have an answer for that one. So the Self-Esteem of Dream actually does work when you turn it not upside down, but you turn it right side up. In the book, we talk a lot about that there are different tools, resources. There are 12 different chapters, again, starting with release and ending with reciprocity. One of the strongest tools that we have in here, and I didn't create it, but I think the first time I heard about it was when I read Louise Hay's works. And then I know that Jack Canfield also integrated into his work, some of his work as well. Mirror therapy. It's going to feel weird, going to look weird, going to sound weird. You're going to hate it. You're not going to like it. And I don't care, because we are not here to pamper you. I called it a regime for a reason. And a regime is an organized way of doing things. And you're going to do them. If you want to see the light at the tunnel, if you want to make any change in your life, if you want to be the best you can be, if you want to live 100% in your truth, you're going to do the work. And I've made it easy for you because I made it easy for you because it's all in one place. But never be misled. It's going to take work, and some of it's going to be uncomfortable, and some of it you're going to start and walk away from. And I am here to prompt you, to nudge you, to push you really hard to say, do the work. Just do it. You do the work and you stand in front of this mirror, your mirror, and there are affirmations in the book that I give you to use, or you can create your own, whatever it is you need. And you stand there and you bring a tissue, by the way, because you may need it. Because when you start telling yourself what you've been waiting for everybody else to tell you and they never did, it's one of the most powerful things you will ever do. Because when you look into your own eyes and when you're digging deep into your own soul and you're telling yourself how much you do like yourself, you must start with like if you have a hard time with love. You'll get there. And I do love you because I do think you're amazing. And I think you're smart. And I think you're kind. And I think you're lovable. And I think you are, go down the list, whatever you need, right? I think you are doing the best that you can do every day. And tomorrow you are going to be, I like to use I, because if you use you, it feels almost like you're talking to someone else. I love you. I love you, Clarissa. I love the way you treat other people. I love the hard work that you put into yourself every day. I love the way that you make the list, go down the list. And when you start to talk to yourself about, I love you and I forgive you. Oh, man, when you start telling yourself you forgive yourself, I mean, I know, look, again, God, really, Clarissa, that's what you want us to do? Okay, don't do it. Don't do it. But when you do it, it's going to be some of the most powerful and most impactful exercise. It will be the most powerful, I think, and most impactful exercise you will ever do. Yes, we've got journaling and you're going to be writing and you're going to be doing all kinds of different things in the book. But the book is chock full of, we've got the clarion call, Clarissa's Corner, affirmations, case studies, reviews, homework. You're going to take the deeper dive on yourself you never thought you would when you get this book. And by the way, Brandon, yes, I love to promote the book because for me, this is a resource. Yes, it's a read, but it's really a resource. And the other thing I say is that self-esteem for me is more, this is a manual, but it's a mission and a movement for me. I will be happy when everybody finally, light bulb goes off and everybody's living a happy, healthy esteem. Can you imagine the way, and I know it's going to sound woo-woo, the way that the consciousness of the planet will raise if everybody is feeling good about themselves. Yeah. Just imagine for a moment if everyone in the entire world had happy, healthy, really good, nourishing self-love.
Yeah,
narcissism.
I can't imagine.
Two different things. Narcissism is a whole different thing than self-love. I could be here all day on that. Think about that. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your relationships, but you kind of owe it to humankind. You owe it, I'm not going to say the planet, but to humankind. Planet means the globe. Humankind, you owe it. Do the work.
Yes. I'm curious for you because you didn't have this book when you were an internationally known supermodel, right? On the stage doing this, like this thing that so many people want to do, but you were doing it. How did you face these struggles yourself back then? Did you have imposter syndrome?
Well, I'll go even deeper on that because when we talk about, when I was a supermodel, there were no computers, there was no internet, there were no cell phones. Yes, I'm that old. I'll be 63 this month. And so I was out in the world alone. My father had long left the family. There was no connection there. And my mother and I, we really were not that close back in the day. So I really was kind of out in the world alone by myself. But the one thing that always gave me solace was being able to go anywhere I was into a bookstore and go make a beeline for the self-help section. I never read a book that was fiction, nonfiction, biography, science, business, never read any of that. I went straight for the self-help section and that's what I would buy and that's what I would read. And it was the one thing that I had that kept me in alignment. It kept me aligned. It kept me understanding. It kept me learning that what I didn't learn from the natal tribe, because my background was a little more turbulent. My natal home was not a happy place to be. So when I got out into the world, I really didn't have the tools in the shed. I didn't even have the damn shed, let alone the tools in the shed, to be able to affront life. And here I was gallivanting around the world as a pretty young girl. I made every mistake in the book, especially with relationships and certainly to the relationship with myself, because I came out of that home not having much self-worth at all. Self-worth is another really huge word, and we use them all interchangeably, if you will.
Yeah.
So for me, as I got out there and I saw that it wasn't just me that was kind of feeling a little off, but I was seeing all these other people around me that were really kind of, you know, the peers, as I said, the model, all the people, a lot of the people that I encountered, I was like, wow, man, I have this perception of you, and to me, you're like walking on water, and your own perception of yourself is you're drowning. So I knew there was something to this. I knew I had to write this book.
Yeah. I mean, even Heidi mentions again that she was grossing over $1 million between both of her businesses, but there was still no imposter syndrome stuff out there. There was
That's right.
nothing talking about self-esteem, and this was
That's right.
literally only 7 years ago. This is obviously, we all understand the term self-esteem.
Mhm.
Why is it something that's not really discussed? I mean, you even mentioned at the beginning that you made the colors of the cover the way they are to be more inviting to everybody, because
Yeah.
even men out there today, it's almost like they're ashamed to say they have low self-esteem. Like,
Yes.
why is this not talked about?
And it's really great. It's really great that you bring that up too. And I'm so glad that you do, because most people think this book was written for women, and that because I'm a woman, my experience is woman. And when I talk in the interviews, I talk about, models and, family. But yeah, guys, I've had so many great compliments from guys that have read this book. And it's a human condition. It is not just a predominantly woman's condition. We all, it's a normal, it's kind of a norm. It's part of who we are, right? We start very young comparing. Bullying is another thing, that we get a lot of, information from, because we're like, wow, I didn't think that I was that horrible, but the kids in schools keep telling me I am. Social media has done us in. I have a couple of different things here that are very alarming and really scary. Last week, the CDC came out with another study. It has nothing to do with COVID, thank God, but it does have to do with. It says a CDC study finds growing mental health crisis in one group that is the hardest hit, and that is our younger generations, the high school generations. And I could be here. I've got it all marked up, and I could be here reading it. It's a 3-4 page gig, but the point is that we are losing our young children because COVID hit them hard, and because of not being in schools, not socializing, and living and listening to living on their computers and listening and believing what they see on social media. I don't know what the percentage is, but let me take a guess. I'm going to go with about 50 to 60% of everything we see and hear on social media is nothing more than perception. It's the
Mm,
way people want to be perceived, and the way we are perceiving them. And then what we do is we fall into comparing. Wow, Susie Q went to the Bahamas, and she's lost 100 pounds, and all of that stuff that we continue to do. And when I go self-esteem 101, do not compare yourself to anyone else. You get to be you. You have the great fortune. You get to be you. And when I go back to, let's go back to divine source, universe, God, Buddha, Krishna, I don't care who it is that you want to spend your energetic time with, that's fine with me. They knew what they were doing when they created you, and you have no business at all second guessing that. So do you, boo, and be happy, because you get to be you. That is a really cool. Okay. So, maybe there are some things in yourself that you don't like and you need to work on. Some of those things are changeable. Some of those things aren't. Welcome to life. Oh, well, such it goes. But make the best you that you can make. I know this sounds like really fluffy stuff, but I'll be darned if it isn't really true. So I'm really, really concerned, getting back to the CDC study, about where we are with our younger generations. These kids in school are going back to school, and I'm really happy for them that they are, but they are not equipped with a book like mine. And
yeah.
I think that just like we should be teaching finance in school, we should be teaching relationships, we should be teaching leadership, we should be teaching self-esteem.
Yes.
I think
100%.
I think that should be mandated. I don't want to, let's do that instead of trying to teach our kindergartens what a penis is. I don't care about that. I want our kindergartners to know from the outset what good, happy, health esteem is. Okay,
Yes.
that's what I want. That's what I would like to see in the schools. One other really quick thing, and there's a gal that some of us may know. I don't know. Her name is Camila Cabello, and she's beautiful,
Oh,
young
yeah.
Latin star, killing it, millions of followers and whatever else. Came out with an article last week, and she's like, "Oh my God, she's like freaking out because all she wants to do is spend a little time on the beach, maybe get a little sun, frolic in the ocean, whatever she wanted to do, and throw on a bikini."
Yeah.
But she knows she's going to be packed, what they call packed or paparazzi. So she makes sure, she gets into this frenzy, and she's talking about, not eating before going out onto and making sure, and she goes on and on and on in this article about, I held my core so tight, my abs hurt, and I didn't breathe, and I barely smiled as I was so self-conscious of where the paps were the whole time. Here's a girl that is killing it, successful, making money, doing what she loves, passionate about her music and her career, and she's worried about a photograph that might be taken at a wrong angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying she is wrong. I think that I could help her a little bit by saying, "Honey, don't worry about it. You're doing just fine."
Mm-hmm.
But where are we in society that we have to worry about if she, ate her lunch before she went out to the beach and maybe has a little bit more of a bulgy tummy than she did before she ate? This is ridiculous. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And this is the kind of pressure we are putting on women and young girls, and the pressure that we are putting on humans in general. I get very passionate about this, and that's
I
why
can tell. I love it.
Again, Brandon, I don't make a lot of money on this book. By the time that the publisher gets theirs, and I gave it to one of the greatest ghostwriters in the world by the name of Gary Krebs. Not so much of a ghost if I'm giving you his name. I wasn't going to sit down, but Gary and I worked very, very close on this book. I gave him everything this book was supposed to be, and he did it perfectly. So by the time everybody else gets there, I'll get $1.98 maybe, and I can buy myself maybe a half a Starbucks. So it's not about that. This is about, I want everybody to be able to have the tools and the resources. If it's not mine, that's okay, but find them. There's no excuse today with the internet. There's no excuse today with a book like mine not to be. And by the way, you'll read it today and you'll get the messages you need, you'll get now. If you read it in 6 months' time, you're going to get a whole different thing. You're going to miss something that you weren't ready to hear, or you that message that you just weren't ready for today. You might catch it in a year. So that's why I call it a resource. And keep reading it. Read it over and over again, because you never take a self-esteem test and get 100 on it. Doesn't work that way. Life ebbs and flows. Life is going to trigger you. I call it standing strong in your stead. So just as a tree is very strongly rooted when the hurricane comes through, when the tornado comes through, when the storm comes through, you may lose a couple of leaves and maybe a branch or two, but you're still standing. That's what good, happy, health esteem is. Wow. Falling back on the strength that you build within yourself with happy, healthy self-esteem.
Well said. Guys, the book here, The Self-Esteem Regime, you can grab it on Amazon. The link is in the comments to go grab your copy right now.
Yeah, there's the audio version too.
Yeah, I saw that. You can grab the audio version, whatever best fits your lifestyle. Clarissa, people are going to want to tap into this energy after this ends. I know you're everywhere. Like, where's the best place for people to follow you and tap into this?
I'm just Clarissa Burt on all social, with the exception of Snapchat. I'm not on Snapchat, but I am everywhere. But I'm everywhere else. So awesome. Clarissa Burt, you can find me pretty much anywhere.
I just want to say that this has been one of the highest energy conversations we've had on the show, and I'm a high energy guy. But I think
you had me wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning,
and it's still 7 something where you are right now. And the fact that you're like this, it just goes to show that these principles work. And it was a pleasure having this conversation with you, Clarissa. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Wow. That's just the one word I got for this conversation is wow. And I hope you took something away. I know you must have. I mean, from the strategies we talked about to Clarissa's own story to everything she's doing now and what she hopes to achieve with her mission in the book, Just absolutely incredible. The mirror therapy that we talked about, the not comparing yourself to other people, so many different nuggets of information, but also of practices that you can put into use today in order to feel better about yourself, because you're worth it, right? In order to support others, you have to support yourself, especially in business. The more you do for you, the more you're able to do and give for other people. I think one of the biggest takeaways I have from this conversation with Clarissa is that by boosting up other people, it boosts your self-esteem. And while it's called self-esteem, you boost it and you grow it and you build it by lifting up others at the same time. So if you took away anything from this conversation, which I'm sure you did, share this show with just one person who could use it the most. Share it on socials. We've only grown the way we have over the past year and a half because of you. You are the greatest part of our team, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you for watching and listening. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.